Doors of Change is a 501c3 organization that I founded in 2001. And as Reed said, we've helped over 2,100 youth not only get off the streets, but get into safe housing. With all the stress that's gone on this last year, we wanted to have an event that was going to be uplifting and positive. And there's nothing more to me more uplifting and positive than focusing on success stories of homeless youth. That's exactly where we are tonight. We want to show people that homeless youth can break the cycle of homelessness with hard work and thrive in life. Almost 20 years now in July, we've been helping homeless youth get off the streets from ages 12 to 25 years old. And during this time, we realized that the most underserved of the entire homeless population were the transitional age youth. We call them the TAY youth, from ages 17 to 25. They're invisible. You never hear about them. They have very, very little funding, minimal resources, and very few beds. But all I can tell you is that of anybody, any age, we believe that this is the greatest age that can break the cycle of homelessness. And because of that, 9.5 years ago, we said we're going to go specifically to help the youth that need it the most, the transitional age youth, for 9.5 years. Tonight, you're going to see amazing stories and hear amazing stories from 4 people that have actually been homeless, that have lifted themselves off the earth and made something of their lives. They're thriving right now. As you know, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, and a second-year law student. People always ask me, why are youth homeless? Number one, most of them do not want to be homeless. But the ones that are homeless because it's safer to be on the streets than in their home. They come from such abusive situations. Their parents are drug addicts, are alcoholics. If they're LGBTQ youth and they come out, they get thrown on the streets. And the problem is, even though they don't want to be homeless, once they're on the streets, it is extremely difficult to get off the streets. The main reason is they don't trust anybody. Everybody has lied to them and take advantage of them, especially of the adults. So what Doors of Change has been blessed to know that from the very beginning, music and art is the key to building trust very quickly, quicker than we've ever seen before. It usually would take 6 to 9 months in the old days with normal outreach to be able to gain trust with a youth. With our now program, our award-winning program in Ocean Beach, between 1 to 3 classes, youth are asking for help. And when they do, we give them our amazing case manager, Jenny Ford. And Jenny does all the resources that they need, gets them the housing that they need, and she's just been amazing with them. So trust is everything, and it's important. Without that, you're not going to be able to, they're not going to ask any questions at all. You're going to see a short video soon of what we do, followed by the panelists are going to share. Finally, I want to thank the panelists, and especially the 4 panelists that are going to share their life stories with us. Because I'll tell you something, folks, there's a lot of pain sometimes that goes on when you look back in your past with a homeless youth. But they're willing to go through that to be able to share their experience with you because they want to help more youth get off the streets. They are my heroes. Thank you.
The thing that made me leave home when I was 12 that was so bad was my new stepfather. He started to abuse me physically, emotionally, mentally, would call me names, drag me by my hair, hit me, kick me. He was basically torturing me.
On the streets is quite difficult, near impossible to trust people really, because they were always looking out for themselves. I had to do the same, look out for myself.
The longest time period I didn't eat for was probably like 3 days.
I was chain smoking cigarettes for warmth. I figured the heat from the smoke, you know, keep me warm for the night.
I slept in a lot of crazy places. I would sleep like on park benches in parks. I slept on the beach a lot. I eventually had a tent. Well, there was one night I slept in a dumpster on top of a piece of cardboard. Thankfully, it wasn't trash day.
I was able to sleep in front of anybody, no matter what. It was like, hey, if they kill me, they kill me. And, you know, if they would try to rob me, they rob me. It's like, that's just what it was.
I would perform in the streets to get some money. I would just do tricks with a soccer ball.
The toughest thing about being homeless is the loss of hope and trying to hold on to that.
I first heard of Doors of Change through outreach. Jeff was walking around doing outreach.
We're going on outreach, which we've done now for 18 years, twice a week, trying to find homeless kids between the age primarily of 16 to 25. When we find them, we ask them if they'd like to come to a music and arts program. They get free music lessons, free art, free dinners, free food, free clothes, case management, whatever they would like. We've seen now over 7,300 visits now in 6 years.
The staff of Doors of Change are kind. They're always in a great mood. They're always asking to help anyway. It's really nice. It feels like a family.
Doors of Change has helped me because I was homeless at 17 because my biological dad got involved and he punched me in the face repeatedly. And now I'm about to graduate from college, computer engineering. Homeless, degree. Pretty clear line.
It's really important that people that are able to donate to Doors of Change can provide the financial support that we need to continue to provide opportunities for these kids, whether it be music instruments, referrals, life skills, you know, anything that they need help with. They need a lot of support, and even if it's just $5, I mean, really anything can help these kids. And the bigger the donation, the more children are going to end up with opportunities like me that they can make something of themselves and make an impact in this world. And that's why it's so important that we have donors. They really make the whole organization run.
"15 years ago, I met a homeless youth that would not look at me in the eye for 2 months. Every time I saw her, she was dressed in black. She was extremely depressed. I'll never forget when she came up to me for the first time and looked at my eye for the first time and said, "I want to learn how to play music." That was the beginning of Justine just completely developing in her life. She never went back from that day on. She went into our music program initially, then our expressive arts program, which really made her who she is today. And to see her massive transformation over 15 years it's unbelievable. Justine is a giver. She always wants to help other human beings, other homeless youth. She loves animals, but she also loves to help homeless youth. And so anytime we've asked her for 15 years, I don't think she said no one time for any interviews to meet with youth that need mentoring. And so she's a giver and she deserves everything in life. Justine, can you please share with us how you went from the streets from 12 to 15 years old and now second year law school?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jeffrey. I still do wear black. I just wear suits now instead of T-shirts. So yes, my name is Justine Bethel. I did leave home at the age of 12. I was living in a really abusive family environment. My stepfather was using me as a punching bag on a regular basis just for existing. And I was living in really bad parts of San Diego. And I did remain homeless from the age 12 until right before my 16th birthday party. So I was a teenager. I was living on the streets of San Diego. And I'm a success now, but I'm here to tell you that my success is not my own. When I left home, I didn't know where I was going to go, but I knew that anywhere that I went would have been better than where I was and what I was dealing with at home. And it was really scary to be a teenage girl on the streets. A lot of people want to take advantage of you. They want access to your body. They maybe want to sell your body and use you as a commodity. And it was really hard for me to try and avoid a lot of that, which I did successfully avoid that. I was not used for trafficking. I shaved my head and tried to make myself look like a boy so that I didn't have those kind of things occurring. I didn't have much success getting food or clothes or shelter on a daily basis. I was begging, stealing. I had a guitar. I was playing music for people and asking for change, that kind of thing. I did get involved with some shady people over time, and my luck changed, thankfully, when an officer had picked me up because he was interested in some information that I had about some crimes that had committed by my ex-boyfriend. He actually took me to a shelter instead of taking me to juvenile hall, which obviously completely changed my life and gave me the opportunity that I needed to get off of the streets and get into a normal life. And when they took me in the shelter, I felt like my life wasn't worth living anymore. I was so depressed that I didn't really see a future for myself. And the only solace that I had was my guitar. But when I was at the shelter, I found there was love, support, kindness, and most importantly, there was a music program. Then the thing about music is it has the power to heal your soul. I was able to start closing some of the wounds that had opened when I was on the streets and forget some of the failures that I had as I was able to look towards having a future. And this music program was funded by Doors of Change, and it gave me a space where I could express the pain that I had been carrying with me for so long. It was Jeffrey's team of angels, and they gave me hope that the world wasn't a terrible place, that there were good people. And they taught me that my life did have value, that my life had a purpose, and there was something beyond all the troubles that I had experienced up to that point. And that's why Doors of Change is such an important organization, because rehabilitation costs money, but you can't really put a price on hope for these kids. And that's really what they need, is they just need that hope that they can trust in someone, that someone will give them that hand up that they can get off of the streets. So after I won a lawsuit and I started my own business with the money, I do have a jewelry business. I enrolled in community college and I graduated with 3 associate's degrees, one in English, one in biology, and one in the humanities. And I used my English degree to transfer to University of Santa Barbara, and I completed my bachelor's with a 3.87 GPA, high honors, and multiple awards from the English department for my poetry that had been published in the school paper. So I am a law student now. After graduation, I enrolled in the Ventura Colleges of Law in their hybrid Juris Doctorate program, and I did successfully complete my first year. I'm actually about to take finals, so wish me luck. I'm a little scared. And I will be starting my second year in 2021 in the spring. Currently, I work as an internal revenue auditor for a tribal casino, and actually really similar to being a lawyer. I'm making sure everyone's following the rules and that all the money is accounted for. And I am saving up to buy my first home, which I never thought was going to be a possibility for me in my life. My jewelry business did take a hit because of the pandemic. A lot of my events were canceled, and I am still running things sort of online. I have a holiday sale that's going on my Instagram. My handle is Friendly Feathers, and I will be donating a portion of those proceeds back to Doors of Change once the sale is complete. So the reason I say my success is not my own, because of this, because of Doors of Change and all these kind angels investing in me. And then I was able to actually invest in myself because they believed in me. And now I can invest in others because I've actually attained that success. And I'm here because I want my success to find a home in the heart of every child that sleeps on the ground, but dreams of sleeping in a bed. I want this future for every youth so that they can feel safe and warm. To every lost child that wants to find a way, this will be your success too. I give it to you freely so that you can find a future for yourself as well, because success is attainable if you just have a little bit of help along the way. That was my speech, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll be taking questions later. So if you have any questions, just put those in the comments and in the chat. And then I believe I'm introducing a really amazing human being next.
You want to do it with me? Why don't you start and I'll finish? How's that?
Okay, well, I would like to introduce you to someone that actually was in the program at the same time as me. It was a really close friend of mine, someone that I've seen grow into a really amazing, inspiring, and intelligent human being. I'm really glad to introduce him, and then I'll pass it to you, Jeffrey.
Thank you. And Matthew is just amazing also. When I first met him, he was 17. And all I can say, Matthew, is to see what you've done in your life is just extraordinary. You're one of the hardest workers I have ever seen in almost 20 years of working with youth. And I always would say to you, save, save, save. You took it to another level, man. Of anybody in 20 years almost, you've saved more than any other youth I know. You saved over $20,000 with working around the clock while you're going to school, but that gave you the money to be able to go to college. And I'm so proud of you of what you've done in your life. You are also a giver. Both you and Justine, you never say no for public speaking events, to mentor a homeless kid. And that's why you're successful, Matt, because what goes around comes around, and you deserve everything. Please share with us what it's like from the streets now to having 2 degrees, and your world is your oyster now as an engineer. You got to unmute. Got to unmute, Matt. Reed?
Okay, there you go. So
There
sorry,
you
I
go.
couldn't mute myself. Reed just unmuted me. Thanks, Reed. Uh, thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Justine. I have known both of these people since 2005. As you saw in the video, I was in a shelter at 17, escaping a violent home situation. And what I can say is the most important thing is early intervention. The clear through line of my life, I can see everything started when I got involved with these programs. From the very first day that I was homeless, I had a safe place to stay. I had people who cared about me as a person, people who treated me with respect, who treated me not just as some dumb kid, but as a person who was on the threshold of adulthood, who had very difficult decisions to make. And that first night, I didn't know where my life was going to go. I didn't know what I was going to have to do to survive. And I remember being in that place where I just didn't have very much hope for my future. And I was just preparing myself for, I'm going to do what I got to do to get from one day to the next. And every day I'm grateful that I had this program when I needed it. And so I graduated high school while I was living in a shelter. I had food to eat every single day because of Jeffrey and his program. I was able to go to work, pay for community college, and I was able to go to college, and now I have a degree in computer engineering. I've done it. I'm working every day to find jobs in software development, and I'm living in San Rafael. It's a beautiful place. I've got my own home. I live with a beautiful woman, and I've got a very comfortable, great life now because I had people who helped me out when I needed it. And this is something that other people need, and now more than any other time before, there are people who are going to start falling through the cracks. They don't have hope. They don't have the people in their life who are going to catch them at that perfect moment. And you can be that person, and this program can be that program for those people. Every dollar that you give is going to end up going directly to somebody, and it's going to help stabilize them so that they can put in the work to make their own life better. And it's not just about giving people cash. It's not just about giving people stuff. It's about giving them the tools that they need and giving them the stability that they need to do the work themselves. And that's what I did. It took a very long time. Sometimes I feel too long, but put your nose to the grindstone and you can do it. Those other people, they're going to be able to do it. And not everybody is going to come back and talk at symposiums and give speeches every year for Jeffrey. But they're out there. This program is helping real people. And I come back every single time because I feel like I'm the face, I'm the voice for those people who don't want to come back. They don't want to put themselves on blast. They don't want to talk about their trauma. But I'm willing to. And when you see me, I'm the face of 100 other people that this program has changed, and 1,000 other people that this program is going to help out in the future. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your donations. Thanks for being involved. And thank you for going out and telling everybody in your life about this program and what it is doing for young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. So our next angel is Nikki Johnson Houston. Nikki is a graduate of Temple University Beasley School of Law in 2004. She is practicing tax attorney in Philadelphia and has her own firm. She's a determined advocate for homelessness. She's won many awards. She was United States of America Miss Pennsylvania, 2019, 2020. She is the Philadelphia Business Journal Minority Business Lead Award in 2016, and the Journal Woman of Distinction, and many other awards she has. So, Nikki, we are just so blessed that you are here to share with us tonight. Can you share how you went from poverty and being on the streets when you were 10 years old to owning your own law firm? Not an attorney, you own your own law firm, a tax attorney. How the heck did that happen? Please share with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for having me. And I feel really honored to be in the company of some really extraordinary human beings. I think so many parts of my story will kind of sound similar to everyone else's. So I have experienced homelessness 3 times in my life, from the ages of 9 to 10 for almost a year, at 15, and for the last time at 19 years old. And how my family ended up experiencing homelessness was because my mother had drug and alcohol issues, and she was a single mom. My dad left when I was about 2 years old, and my mom decided to move us out to San Diego when I was 9, kind of away from my grandmother and our family unit. And within a couple of weeks of us moving there, she met a man, and he took all of our money. And so we ended up living in a hotel, living on hotels, and kind of just finding our way to the streets because we ended up running out of places to go. One of the things that kind of really resonates for me is I remember that we couldn't stay in our shelter during the day, and we would go to the library. And it opened up this entire world to me. I would read these books, and it opened up the possibility. But what I want people to understand is that no matter how determined you are, that homelessness really strips a lot of things away from you. You feel a sense of shame, you feel embarrassed, and you feel invisible. And one of the biggest fears I had is that was going to be what the rest of my life was going to look like. That I was going to be hungry, that I was going to be scared, that I was going to be cold, and that I was never going to be able to climb out of that hole. And unfortunately, this was the time before Doors of Change. So I was fortunate enough to be able to go and live with my disabled grandmother and to access the social safety net. I think what I want everybody to take out of all of our stories is none of us gets here on our own. And it takes a lot of money and a lot of programs, and not just this program, but government programs. We were on the streets for almost a year, and my mother realized she just couldn't keep us together. And it was also my younger brother. But because my grandmother was living as a disabled person in senior citizen Section 8, she could only take one of us. And she took me. And I think she took me because I was the girl. And even though she didn't have a lot of money, she provided a safe place for me and a stable place for me. And she told me that anything was possible if I worked hard and if I got a good education. And she used Section 8 and welfare and food stamps and her Social Security payments. And it's why I'm sitting here. I was able to get a scholarship to come to school to Philadelphia to college. So that's how I ended up here in Philadelphia. but I was traumatized from my experience, and I struggled emotionally and academically, and I didn't know how to ask for help. And after my first semester, I was kicked out of school, and I was put on academic probation. And after my first year, I was kicked out of school, and I struggled for a couple of years, but I was fortunate. I answered an ad for a nanny as a live-in nanny for a family of lawyers, a wealthy family on the main line, which is a wealthy suburb here. And they took me in. They encouraged me to go back to school at night. I worked for them all day and went to school 4 days a week. And in 1998, I graduated from the same college I failed out of. And in 2004, I graduated from Temple University, with the first person in the history of my college to graduate with a law degree, an MBA, and a master's in tax at the same time in 4 years.
Wow.
I always like to say to people, not bad for a formerly homeless girl. One of the reasons why I'm sharing my story is because, like everyone else said, I think that when people think about homelessness, they don't think about what the possibility is. They think about all of the negative. But it takes investment in people for them to be able to live their best life. For me, one of the best things about getting my education and using my life experience is what I've been able to do to share my story with others. In 2012, I became an Eisenhower Fellow, and I went to India and New Zealand and looked at ways to end generational poverty. And I shared my story with the untouchables and went to leprosy colonies and talked to them about what was possible. And I took that experience, and when I came home in 2015, I created the Donify app that allowed people in need and homeless people in Philadelphia to be able to locate nearby services using their phone. And I was able to do that because of my education, but more importantly, because of the money that I make as an attorney. So this is not about charity. This is about investment. So full circle moment. One of the things that I dreamed of when I was in a homeless shelter was I said to myself, I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to have lots of shoes, and I wanted to be Miss America. Well, I'm a lawyer. I have lots of shoes, a closet full of shoes. And last year I was named Miss Pennsylvania. So when you invest in people, there's nothing that they can't do. But helping people to believe that and to see that in themselves, that is a hard, hard sell. And without people like Jeffrey and Doors of Change and his staff and people like my grandmother, and without the investment of taxpayers in the social safety net, none of this would be possible. So one of the things I really want to encourage all of you is to really think about giving. And I'm always one to put my money where my mouth is. And I will be donating $1,000 tonight to your organization and giving back to the city of San Diego, which definitely made such an impact in my life. And I would like to do it in honor of my brother, who unfortunately passed away in 2010, was not able to get past his struggle with homelessness.
Nikki, thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for wanting to make a donation also. You are truly an angel. Next up, Dr. Cheryl Rickanos. I hope I got it right this time. Cheryl was homeless from 16 to 19. She came cross country, ended up in Los Angeles. And she has a quote. She says, that was one of the hardest times of my life. But I realized that the struggles I went through as a teen helped me shape me into who I am today. She is now a family practice physician in Lancaster, California. And Cheryl, please share with us, how did you go from the streets to become a doctor?
Hi there. Thank you for having me. So my story took place a little to the north of Doors of Change. I grew up on the East Coast, and I was the youngest of 5 children in a severely dysfunctional family, with a mother who suffered from mental illness and a father who was narcissistic. I didn't feel safe or loved, and I didn't feel seen or heard. By the time I was 13, I'd had enough. Deep down, I was depressed and contemplating suicide. I didn't feel like I would survive if I stayed in my dad's home. I ran away and came to Los Angeles. Horrible, dangerous things happened, and it didn't end well. I was eventually arrested for being a runaway and sent back to my home state, where I spent time in foster care and then juvenile hall for almost a year before I was eventually given back to my dad. Then at 16, he told me he didn't care if I stayed or left. That was enough for me. I packed my bags and headed west again, for good. When I returned to California at 16, I had given up on trusting adults. They'd proven to me time and again that they didn't see or hear me. I didn't believe that they had my best interests at heart or that they would protect me. I spent almost 3 years on and off the streets, living in shelters, staying in squats, sleeping on the bus as it weaved its way across the city at night, and sometimes spending all night walking, and then sleeping in the safety of drop-in programs during the day. I took huge risks and encountered real dangers. There is no safety for homeless, vulnerable youth on the streets. Unspeakable things happened to me, as well as to my friends. Not everyone survived. I think of some of the friends that I lost along the way, and their memories propel me forward. When I was 18, I found out I was pregnant with my first kid. I had just secured my first apartment, and I was working full-time, but everything fell apart a few months before the baby was born. I spent the last few months of my pregnancy sleeping in the 24-hour McDonald's at night or back in squats. I found a temporary place to stay when she was born, but I needed permanency. My case manager at the youth program near me connected with me and convinced me to apply to a Young Moms program. I was even able to enroll in community college classes. Getting off the streets wasn't easy. Staying off them has been a lifelong goal. At first, I was in a program, and then I moved in with my baby's father when she was 8 months old. We made it work, and we've been together since then. My case manager continued to check in with me until I graduated from UCLA. When I first met my baby in a hospital room, I knew that I wanted to be the best possible mom for her. I wanted to be somebody she could be proud of. And in that brief time in the hospital, I was enchanted by the medical field. It sparked an interest in me that never went away. I transferred from community college to UCLA in 2000, and then graduated in 2002 with hopes of eventually applying to medical school. I became a high school science teacher first, providing much needed stability for my growing family. We had our second child while I was at UCLA, and our third while I was a new teacher. As I continued my studies, I saw the incredible value of having an education. I completed a master's in education while I was teaching, and I knew the whole time that I wanted to go back to school to study medicine. When I finally got into medical school in 2010, it was like the weight of all those years was finally lifted off my shoulders. I could have big dreams, and they were achievable. I graduated from medical school and completed my residency in family medicine so that I could have the training to take care of all ages of patients. I work as a hospitalist now, taking care of sick, hospitalized patients. I've also been able to volunteer my time in the Caribbean and in Mexico, where I've been able to help take care of underserved patients. I've been fortunate to share my story with medical students, residents, and physicians so that they can better serve homeless patients throughout their careers as well. And I've continued to volunteer at the program that helped me as a teen. I'm honored to share my story with Doors of Change. This program seeks to help vulnerable youth and connect them with valuable resources. They're helping to turn these young people's lives around by injecting hope into them at a time when most people walk right past them. Just by being here tonight, you've made an impact on kids like me, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you so much for being here. We had an amazing panel of angels, an amazing group of angels that watched us tonight and participated. And so thank you so much. We appreciate it. Good night, everybody. Have a great night.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.